Who is really Theodore Robert Bundy? A name that, decades later, still chills anyone who hears it. Bundy's name has become a symbol of calculated evil in American history. On the surface, he was everything society admired: intelligent, articulate, and charming. He dressed well, spoke with confidence, and carried himself like someone destined for success. But behind the disarming smile and warm eyes was a darkness few could comprehend. A double life that would leave an entire nation in shock. Bundy's story isn't just about the crimes he committed. It's about the terrifying truth that evil can wear a friendly face. The origins of Bundy's darkness can be traced back to his early years. Born Theodore Robert Bundy in Burlington, Vermont, in 1946, he grew up believing his grandparents were his parents, and that his mother was his older sister. This twisted family secret would plant the seeds of confusion and resentment that followed him into adulthood. Bundy's childhood friends described him as shy and reserved, but also as someone who enjoyed watching people closely, almost too closely. His fascination with control, deception, and dominance began quietly, but it was only a matter of time before it erupted into something dangerous. But his charm was his weapon. It allowed him to approach victims without fear, often pretending to be injured or in need of help. This calculated act was the perfect camouflage for the predator underneath. Bundy learned early on how to manipulate appearances to his advantage. By the 1970s, he was studying law, working in politics, and even volunteering at a crisis hotline, ironically offering comfort to vulnerable people. Coworkers described him as the guy you'd trust instantly, a man who could blend into any social circle without raising suspicion. By 1974, women in multiple U.S. states were vanishing under eerily similar circumstances. Many were last seen talking to a polite young man with a cast or a sling, introducing himself simply as Ted. Investigators began to see a disturbing pattern. Young women with similar physical features, all disappearing without a trace. What made Bundy even more dangerous was his ability to change locations quickly, moving from state to state, always staying one step ahead of law enforcement. It was a cat-and-mouse game that he seemed to relish. Bundy's mobility and intelligence made him nearly impossible to catch. Police departments across Washington, Utah, Colorado, and later Florida shared notes, but without modern databases, linking the cases was a slow, frustrating process. Descriptions of the suspect varied, and Bundy often altered his appearance, growing facial hair, changing hairstyles, even losing weight. At one point, he was pulled over by police, but they let him go, unaware they had just spoken to one of the most dangerous men in America. The hunt for Ted became one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history, but the predator was always just beyond reach. In August 1975, Bundy was finally arrested during a routine traffic stop in Utah. Inside his car, police found burglary tools and items that hinted at far darker intentions. But Bundy's charm worked even in custody. He represented himself in court, convincing guards and even some officials that he was harmless. In 1977, he escaped from a courthouse library by jumping out of a second-story window. Later that year, he broke out of jail again, this time by cutting through the ceiling of his cell. These escapes cemented his reputation as both dangerous and dangerously clever. The jury had no doubt Abio Bundy's second escape led him to Florida, where he struck again in a series of attacks that would horrify the nation. His final spree came to an end in February 1978, when police pulled him over and realized who they had in custody. This time, there would be no escape. The trial that followed was a media spectacle, the first nationally televised trial in U.S. history. Bundy, ever the showman, acted as his own attorney, cross-examining witnesses and smiling for the cameras. But the evidence was overwhelming. Ted Bundy's life ended in January 1989, but his story continues to haunt true crime enthusiasts to this day. Before his final day, Bundy admitted to taking the lives of dozens of women across the country, though the true number remains unknown. His name now serves as a warning that evil can hide in plain sight, that trust can be weaponized, and that the most dangerous predator might be the one you least expect. The Ted Bundy case remains one of the most chilling reminders in U.S. criminal history. Sometimes, the face of a killer is the last face you'd suspect.